Pour yourself a cold one.
Strike 'em, huh?
And listen to Ross Tucker break down the top college prospects on another tasty edition of the College Draft.
Yeah, it is Daddy Soda time here on the College Draft podcast, of course, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, which is where you should take all of Emory's bets and place your own. Emory Hunt, of course, the star of this show, at FBall Game Plan on Twitter, Football Game Plan on YouTube, the best draft guide of which I'm aware, footballgameplan.com/2022 draft guide, and the widest breadth of knowledge of any college football expert that I'm aware of. Saying that right now. I mean, when you combine the Power Five, the Group of Five, and especially the FCS. I don't know anybody that knows the FCS as well as Emory. And then the other leagues. It is absolutely incredible, and it is our honor and privilege to have him as the co-host on the College Draft podcast every week. The show that's 3 shows in one. We get you up to date on the college football stuff. We get you up to date on the best prospects for the NFL draft, and we pick these games against the spread. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years, at Ross Tucker NFL on social, at Ross Tucker Pod is where all of our stuff is. And of course, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. If you want to watch Emory in the background, he's got that sweet number 26 jersey. Were you the
26.
original Saquon, Emory?
I am the original Saquon. I wish.
I like it. I like it. All right. So I do have to ask you a couple of things before we get into these games. College football playoff. Alabama, Cincinnati, Georgia, Michigan. Kind of hard to have any complaints about it, right? You know, on some level, the committee kind of lucked out that it worked out pretty cleanly for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you look at how they ranked. You could make an argument that Michigan should be number 1 and Alabama should be number 2, or so on and so forth. But the matchups will still be the same. They want to avoid the rematch right away and hopefully getting a rematch in a championship game. But we have 2 intriguing matchups in the college football playoff, and I'm excited to see it play out because I think it's going to be a lot more intriguing and closer than people think.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I didn't even see the spreads yet. We'll get into that over the next couple of weeks, but I'm assuming Georgia and Bama are favored by a healthy amount.
Bama is a 13.5 point favorite over Cincinnati, which to me, Cincinnati is playing the role of the Utah Utes back when Utah was doing their thing as a G5 opponent. I think 13.5 is too high. And I feel like Georgia, I found, was 6.5 point favorites over Michigan, which I feel is too high. So I'm excited to see these 2 matchups.
You know, Emory, what would have happened if Alabama lost to Auburn? Whew. I think they'd still be in. I think they'd be the 4.
I think if they lost to Auburn and beat Georgia, yeah. They
beat Georgia by the same amount. I think it would be Michigan 1, Georgia, I don't know, Cincinnati 2, Georgia 3, Bama 4, maybe? I don't know.
They would have found a way to not get Georgia and Bama again. Or the interesting debate would have been, do you put the 1-loss Notre Dame team in over a 2-loss Bama, even though they're SEC champs? I think Bama still would have beaten out Notre Dame in that scenario.
Yeah, boy, that's interesting. What about the Heisman finalists, Emory? That got announced last night. It's Kenny Pickett from Pitt. It is Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. And then the quarterbacks that we kind of thought would end up being there, C.J. Stroud, Ohio State, and Bryce Young, Alabama.
I think it's a 2-man race. I think it's going to be between Bryce Young and Kenny Pickett. You know, Pickett has the phenomenal numbers. He's broken Dan Marino's record. So you have to think that he's number 2. Stroud, to me, because they lost that game against Michigan, is probably going to end up being third, and we know a defensive player is going to be fourth. And it's funny they went Hutchinson instead of Will Anderson. Yeah, I feel like Anderson has been more consistent in terms of wild plays, but Hutchinson has been fantastic. So I think that's going to be the fourth, rated Heisman finalist right there. But I feel like it's a two-man race. And I would probably lean Pickett has a legit shot, but it's hard for people to ignore Bama bias. But Pickett is quietly had a really good year. I'm surprised to see they cut it off at 4. I thought maybe Bailey Zapp would have gotten in because of the ridiculous numbers at Western Kentucky. Had Stetson Bennett in Georgia beaten Alabama, Bennett probably would have been invited there just as a kudos to a good year with the number one quarterback on the number one team. So I think it's going to be closer than people think between Pickett and Bryce Young.
Yeah, I think Bryce Young's going to win it. I think the throw against Auburn, winning the SEC championship the way they did, my guess is it will be Bryce Young. Speaking of picks, PicksWise is the number one free app for football picks, odds, and analysis. Find expert picks for every game all season long, loaded with best bets, props, and parlays. You can find in-depth game predictions giving you the who, how, and why behind every prediction, all for free. Found your pick? Search our latest DraftKings promotions to sign up for an account and place your bet. Download the free PicksWise app now to make your next bet better. PicksWise backs responsible gambling. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's get into some of these games, including the game this weekend. I'll be calling. Very much looking forward to it. I love it every year. I'll be on the call for Army-Navy. Army is favored by 7.5 coming into this game. I haven't done enough on Navy yet to know if they have any NFL prospects. I can tell you Army really has 4 on the defensive side of the ball, and at least 3. They have 2 seniors. The nose tackle, Nolan Cockrell, will be in a camp. He's a stud. Eric Smith, the linebacker, kind of has to be in a camp because the linebackers next to him the last 3 years are all on rosters. You've got John Radigan made the Seahawks roster. Cole Christensen's been up and down on the Chargers roster. So Eric Smith kind of has to get into a camp. And then the best prospect they have is Andre Carter, who's a junior, who has 13.5 sacks. So there are some pro prospects to watch for sure in the Army-Navy game. Army favored by 7.5. They won 4, lost 3, won 4. Navy's had a tough year, but Navy plays a really tough schedule. 11 of the 12 opponents are bowl-bound, Emory. Navy had like the top 3 schedule in the NFL. In college football. Which way are you going here?
I'm going to lay those points with Army. Army's offense has been dynamic, and I love how they've expanded a little bit in throwing the football this year too. So you have that element to worry about. And Navy's defense just hasn't been what we used to see from Navy when they were in their decade run of dominance in this series, in my opinion. So I think Army's offense against that Navy defense is the key here. Diego Fago is the pro prospect for Navy, the linebacker. He's going to the Shrine game. But I just feel like Army's ability to throw now, it just makes it a different matchup here. And not saying they're going to go out there and air it out 11 times, but the fact that they can throw it effectively will be the difference. Navy's uniform, I think, wins the battle here. At first, Army's uniform was fantastic, and the Navy dropped theirs. It was like, you know what, man? That's the matchup also that you got to watch as well. But I do like Army to cover here.
I kind of like Navy getting the points. The way they played against Temple, I just think it's going to be a 1-score game. So if you're going to get 7 in the hook, I think Army ultimately wins. They've been so good winning close games under Jeff Monken, but I do like getting 7 in the hook with Navy. Speaking of 7 in the hook, Emory, we got South Dakota State at Villanova, two really talented teams at the FCS level as the FCS playoffs roll along. San Diego State has a quarterback, Chris Aludicum, but that running back, Pierre Strong, I've seen him a couple times. He is a stud.
He is, man. He's one of the best backs, prospects in the draft, regardless of FCS or FBS. Definitely the best back coming out of the FCS this year, and the way he runs the football, and also is a threat as a receiver, and helps you out as a kickoff returner. So he has tremendous versatility and value. And he is a legit game breaker. And what's going to be even better is that South Dakota State is getting better as the season goes on. They're getting healthier. So they get Isaiah Davis back, who was a stud in the playoffs last year. He's healthy. He's fresh off a 150 plus yard performance, which then will take a lot of the pressure off of Pierre Strong, who's a versatile back, like we talked about. You go back and watch his play against Colorado State earlier in the year, and he was just flat out dominant. And Oladokin is one that we saw at South Florida, we saw at Sanford, and now we're seeing him here at South Dakota State. He provides to me the difference. And if you go back and watch the game last week against Sacramento State, the run he had where he evaded pressure within the pocket, he broke off about 3 dudes and was able to get out of dodge and get down the sideline and just get out of bounds. I won't say about the 2 or 3 yard line before they went in and scored. So it's that type of, bonus play that he gives you when the first play is dead. It makes it a dangerous matchup for any opponent that they face.
What about for Villanova, Emory?
I love their running back, Justin Covington, who's he's a Bronx native, and someone that he's built like how he's about 5'10", 225. So he's built like your standard running back. This year he's coming off of an injury. He tore his ACL, I believe, last year, and has recovered, has looked like the guy he looked like in 2019. So you like that he's getting back that burst and wiggle. I think he's just a solid back. And to me, if they're going to have a chance, they're probably going to lean on Covington, try to, slow play this ball game, shrink this ball game, and try to eke one out there in Villanova.
What do you think here with South Dakota State laying the 7.5?
I love Villanova's defense. I love the fact that they can swarm. But this South Dakota State team, we talked about Pierre Strong, we talked about Isaiah Davis, Oladokin, what he could do throwing the football. But the two receivers, the Yankee twins, Jackson and Jaden, these two dudes are legit, man. And the fact that their offense has gotten healthier the week before the playoffs started, we saw this manifest itself last week in their blowout victory over, not really a blowout, but they really took care of business against Sacramento State. I would lay those points to South Dakota State. They got healthy at the right time, going into the playoffs, and I think they'll, be able to outrun Villanova.
Okay, what about the team we always see in the playoffs at this point, North Dakota State? They are laying 22.5 against East Tennessee State, again in the FCS playoffs. Seems like North Dakota State always has a lineman, and this year one of them is Cordell Volson.
Yeah, he's someone that's phenomenal. He may end up in the Senior Bowl. I think he already has a Shrine invite, but he's a right tackle that plays really well on both ends of offense. So his pass pro is solid. In the run game, it speaks for itself. If you're on the right side, you better be good in the run game. But his pass pro as a right tackle, which is something that was impressive to me. He's patient with his punch. Doesn't overextend. He's going to be able to play the hands or play the piano, as they like to say, really well. All those coaching cliches you want to say for an offensive lineman, he has that, but is also very good in the run game, which is the staple for North Dakota State.
Yeah, it is. And then they got the running back. Is it Quay Homes for East Tennessee State?
Quay Homes reminds me a lot of Arian Foster. And how patient, how smooth he is. And he's a big back. He's 6'1", 216. And they run the heck out of the football at East Tennessee State. So it's going to be a strength versus strength battle here. Both teams can run the football, but Quay Homes, also someone that has a background in returning kickoffs, also can catch the football out of the backfield rather well. He is the straw that stirs the drink there. They have two backs. The second back really, he's just as good too. He nearly went over 1,000 yards. But Quay Homes is someone that you definitely want to keep an eye on because he to me is very underrated.
Does he have good vision, Emory?
He absolutely does, Ross.
Okay, good. Because we like visibility. It's your first line of defense when it comes to staying safer on the road. Seeing better means spotting the unexpected even faster. If you're looking for better visibility, head over to AutoZone. They got the parts and products you need to drive safer and see more behind the wheel. They've got replacement lights to brighten up the road if you're driving late at night, if you've got dull headlights. The key, though, there's nothing worse than squeaking or streaking wipers. They've got replacement wipers to help you clear your windshield during any storm, rain, sleet, snow. It's always a good time to upgrade anything visibility related. But now's maybe the best time with rougher winter weather and longer nights ahead. Ready to see more and drive safer? Visit your nearest AutoZone or head to AutoZone.com to start your job today. Get in the zone, AutoZone. All right. North Dakota State's laying 22.5, Emory. That's a lot. What do you think?
It's a lot, but when you look at the D-line matchup in this one, East Tennessee State is very light up front on the defensive side of football. You talk about 250, 280. You know, I know size is not a skill, but at some point it matters in the trenches, right? And if they're not able to win on first down or second down or even third down against his run game, it can be an issue. And I think it's going to be an issue. So I would feel comfortable in laying those points. North Dakota State is just too dominant at the point of attack to let up here, especially if East Tennessee State can't win throwing the football, which I think they want to come in and try to run the ball. That's been their game all season long. But I think North Dakota State can take away the run and force them to throw, which is a losing battle. So I'm laying those points with the Bison.
Emory, let's start to talk about some of these bowl games that will kick off next week. There's a bunch of them next week, so it's good news that we can get ahead of a couple of them now, like Coastal Carolina against the MAC champions. What an unbelievable story to be picked last and win the conference. What other conference would that happen? None. It just doesn't happen. It's only the MAC. Coastal Carolina against Northern Illinois. Coastal's favored by 10.5. That is a lot. The Northern Illinois disrespect continues. Coastal's got a tight end who caught your eye.
Yeah, Will Likely is phenomenal. He's a good move tight end. He's an H-back type. Can beat one-on-one coverage. He can get down the seam. He does a good job in, these kick-out blocks and wham blocks, things of that nature. And he's going to I think he's going to the Senior Bowl. If not the Senior Bowl, it's a Shrine game. So either one, and he's been on the radar for quite some time. He's going to be someone that Northern Illinois will have to take away and force Grayson McCall to go to the outside. If they can do that, it strengthens their chances to pulling off the upset here.
And then for Northern Illinois, they got they got a couple. I was watching them in the MAC championship game. They got a couple running backs. They're tough. That Clint Ratkovich, he doesn't want to go down.
He doesn't, man. And he's someone that fits today's game. He's versatile. You see him as a runner. You see him as a blocker. You see him run routes, kind of like Will Likely as that H-back, that detached tight end. And seeing him just find ways to make plays. And he has a good burst, too. Someone you could trust handing the football to in short yardage goal line situation. And you watch him at Northern Illinois, and you go back and watch him at Western Illinois, and he's done the same thing with that Leatherneck football program. So he is someone that has been consistent in his trajectory. He's been utilized the same way, both at Western and Northern Illinois. And so, to me, when you have that versatile skill set, that could be a blocker, a receiver, a runner, you're definitely going to catch a lot of eyes as a pro prospect.
All right, Coastal's laying 10.5. Feels like a big number. I don't know, man. I'm a little surprised by that one. Are you surprised? I mean, Northern Illinois, all they do is win.
I'm not surprised. I feel like the national conversation around Coastal has just fallen off the cliff after they lost that one game. They still finished 10-2 on the year, and they still have an explosive offense and a defense that's really good up front. So I think they just are the better football team. They got better quarterback play, in my opinion. I know Lombardi has played well for Northern Illinois, but McCall is a different animal, dual threat type guy that could work touchdown to check down the passing game. I'm laying those points with Coastal.
Wow. Man, I'm taking the points with Northern Illinois. We'll see. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but they're the MAC champs for a reason, and they're getting 10.5. All right. Speaking of the odds, overcoming the odds, rewriting the playbook, delivering under pressure, the MVPs of small business lead their teams to victory all year long. Visa is proud to provide playmakers everywhere with more tools to help grow their business and help them achieve even greater success. Because the more people we can empower, the more we all win. Visa, a network working for everyone. All right. Toledo against Middle Tennessee State. Now, this is cool because, first of all, Toledo's favored by 10.5. Secondly, I've seen both these teams. Now, Middle Tennessee State was last year, but I've seen these players that we're going to feature. Toledo cornerback Samuel Womack, I believe, led the MAC in passes defense 3 straight years, which is pretty incredible. And then Middle Tennessee State safety Reid Blankenship, they were loving him last year. He was a pro prospect last year. He's been there forever. Why don't we start with Womack?
Yeah, and Womack, you would think quarterbacks would learn to stop trying to test him, right? If he's constantly breaking up these passes. But that's what I love about him, his active hands. You'll see him be patient. Once the ball is in the air, he doesn't panic, and he'll watch the eyes and watch the hands of the receiver and is able to play through that without interfering. And so when you have a cornerback that can do that, you can trust him on the outside. I think he's better on the outside. People will look at his size and say, oh, he's a slot corner. Now, I think he can hold his own as an outside corner. Because of his ability to play the football. I think he is a solid cornerback prospect. Quarterbacks that really need to learn their lesson and stop testing him.
Yeah, he's impressive. I'll say this. I thought Toledo might have been the most talented MAC team I saw this year. They got a lot of good players. I mean, they got a
running
bunch
backs are good. Yeah, they are good.
Tyson
man.
Anderson. They got some D linemen. I mean, they've got
back in the backfield is legit.
Yeah, they do a good job recruiting there. All right, what about Reid Blankenship at Middle Tennessee State?
He was someone that decided to come back. I thought he was off to the NFL draft last year, and was able to come back. And he is a top down type safety. When he's coming downhill in the alley, forget about it. He's making that tackle. He's closing on the receiver to separate man from ball. I think his acceleration is really good at the position. He gives them a chance to be successful defensively, and I feel like he came back. He was injured. I believe last year, so he came back to really boost his stock, and I think he's done well. He's already got his Shrine Game invite also.
All right, with Toledo being favored by 10.5, what are you thinking here?
I love the Rockets, man. You just talked about they are a talented football team on both sides of football. And they can run the ball. And Middle Tennessee's defense, sans Reid Blankenship, struggles to stop anybody. And to me, this will be a track meet for Toledo. And I feel like they have a better defense to slow down Middle Tennessee's offense. So I'm laying those points with the Rockets.
Okay. Emory, before I forget, we're having some guys declare for the NFL draft. We're having guys say they're not going to play in the bowl game. What are your thoughts on that? Any problem with it whatsoever? I'm sure there's going to be a lot more that come out over the next week or so.
Not a problem with the bowl game opt-outs. If you know you're going to the NFL and it makes business sense to not put that extra game on your body, totally agree with you on that. That's something that, that's a long-term decision. So if you're not in the playoffs, I get it. So I'm not upset about that. The transfers are unique because I feel like, we still have so many guys just sitting in, transfer purgatory, not knowing what's going on. And it kind of puts a damper on the high school recruiting because now these high school seniors may get pushed out of the way for these guys that got experience. You can understand it from a coach's standpoint. Well, let me get some guys that got game experience over, a high school guy that I have to really hope can be good and develop at the collegiate level. So the transfers really, kind of irk me a little bit because of how many they are. And just when you think you got a handle on, and maybe just from a selfish perspective of, okay, I got a handle on these guys coming from, this program, these FCS programs, and these are seniors, they're graduating. The next thing you know, they have the long post on social media that they're, transferring with the extra year to play. And you're like, oh, wow, I thought this guy was done. But he has another year and now he's going to the transfer portal. So, you don't know where guys end up and how that affects the draft. I kind of wish they kind of pushed that draft declare date up a little bit to kind of help the process out. But the transfers bother me more so than guys opting out of bowl games.
Interesting. Check out this man on social media at FBall Game Plan on Twitter, Football Game Plan on YouTube. Of course, it's the best draft guide out there, especially if you want to get all the information on the lower level guys. It's incredible. Footballgameplan.com/2022 draft guide. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL on social media. We are at Ross Tucker Pod. Even Money Podcast will drop today. My power rankings on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast have already posted, which is awesome. And next week, we'll be diving into the rest of the bowls, and we'll see what happens in Army Navy and the Heisman. I think we're done here.
Thanks for listening to the College Draft Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Fantasy Feast, Even Money, and The Business of Sports. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.
A lot of times on the show, I mentioned DraftKings. Here's what you need to know. You got to be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. By the way, if what I was talking about included a deposit bonus, doesn't always, sometimes it does. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough, and deposit bonuses are paid out in site credit.